Hey guys, just doing another quick video update. So here in front of you, these are the figures I talked about and briefly showed you guys, or some of them at least. These are some of the British and Allied figures that I've painted up in the last month or so. So I'm just going through to kind of show you what I've done so far. So this first section in the front here, these guys, you guys probably some of you guys recognize these. These are the Hat British Light Infantry. These have been painted up as the 52nd Light Infantry, which at Waterloo were actually divided into two different squares, at least during the cavalry charges. So I painted these guys up. Right now, I've actually been kind of experimenting with doing some washes on my figures to get a bit more shading and depth to my figures as opposed to just flat color. I've been finding the best option for me has just been going to art stores and buying, artists' washes, and then sort of experimenting with the amount of watering it down, ink versus water, and just sort of experimenting with sort of the consistency. I'm finding just using artist washes are way more cost effective than using actual miniature washes. The little tubs you get from Citadel. It's way easier to just do this. So I've kind of been experimenting with with different figures to kind of see how the sort of degree of shading that I like to do. Anyways, so let me know what you think, guys. I'm doing a bit of experimenting and trial and error. These guys have the shading, as you can might be able to tell on the camera. It just sort of adds a little bit more depth to the belts and brings out the wrinkles on the tunics and stuff. But anyway, these guys are the 52nd, a little small section. I have more figures in this unit painted, but this is just some more guys I painted up. These guys here, these are just a paint conversion, but these are the what I probably showed you guys. These are the Hat Waterloo Dutch militia and Belgian infantry, but I painted these up to be British infantry. These guys are just one company of the First Royal Scots, which were part of either Pack or Kemp's Brigade, I can't remember, but they were brigaded with the first, obviously the First Royal Scots, the 42nd Highlanders, the 44th, and the 92nd, and they were part of Picton's division, which most importantly helped repel Delaron's First Corps during the Battle of Waterloo. So this is one section painted up. So obviously these conversions, there's no actual physical conversion, just simply using paint. But again, as you can see, I used some shading to try to get more depth, and I'm liking the effect. I think it looks well. So that's one section there. In behind here, I've sort of based these figures up sort of in corners, if that makes sense, for squares, so that I can sort of sort of block them together to sort of see how they would fit together, and I can obviously expand on them from there. But these guys here, these are conversions I already saw. These are the conversions from the Hat Dutch infantry, which I've converted with the Shako, and these are painted up to be British guardsmen, as you can see with their trousers actually tucked into their gaiters. And again, these have the wash. The figures here, the ones with more the charging pose, I figured finished a while ago, but these guys here with the actual firing, I actually just finished today. So that's them. Again, these will be part of these will be one of the guards regiments, which once again will be in square. So my idea is that by sort of basing them up this way, they're obviously not going to stay on cardboard, but for purposes of storing them until I actually get the diorama started to be constructed. The way I pitch idea is that if I put them on cardboard, I can kind of add more figures to it and sort of keep expanding the square and adding more figures and sort of see how it progresses until eventually I have enough figures. So at this point, this is essentially one corner of the square, and I could either do 4 more of these, or I could then add figures in between here to make the square bigger, if that makes sense. And then these guys over here, this is another paint conversion. These are actually painted up to be some Hanoverian troops. There were 4 main Hanoverian regiments that were sort of faced the brunt of the French cavalry attacks, which was right in the center of Wellington's line, sort of right behind La Haye-Sainte. And there was 2 main Hanoverian squares. These figures are painted up to be the Field Battalion Bremen, which formed square along with the Field Battalion Verdun to repel the French cavalry attacks. If anyone's ever looked up, uniform references for Hanoverian troops, it's kind of a nightmare because there's really no sort of consistency or standardization between unit to unit. So trying to find a for sure 100% depiction of these are how the Hanoverian troops would have looked at Waterloo is really, really difficult, especially since no real 2 units were alike. But as far as I can tell from what research I've been able to accumulate, is that the Field Battalion Bremen, which is what these troops are supposed to look like, they wore essentially a British tunic, but they wore a peaked cap instead of a shako. They had black belting, and they also had blue trousers instead of gray. So what the figures these are actually are, if you guys recognize, these are actually this is actually the hat Prussian Reserve infantry, which as far as I can tell are one of the only packs of 1/72 figures in all the Napoleonic ranges that actually come with the correct sort of peak caps. Most other figures obviously come with either Shakos or some sort of bicorns or something. So this is one of the few packs that actually has that distinctive peak cap, which works for this Hanoverian unit. So I just did a bit of paint conversions. They have blanket rolls on, which wasn't really a typical custom for British infantry, but I basically figured, you know, with Hanoverians there was some discrepancy in sort of the standardization, and I needed the peak cap look more than anything. And I think once they're painted up, they actually look pretty good. And obviously you can see I put the blue trousers on them. Their officers are in these distinctive yellow sashes rather than, you know, the crimson that most British officers wore. They have black belting, if you guys can pick that up on the camera. And yeah, and they were also in square. So again, these guys were paired with the Field Battalion Verden in square. So this is one pack of the hat Prussian Reserve Infantry, and I think since these guys actually look pretty good, I'm probably going to buy more and keep expanding to this square, because obviously I wasn't sure, but now they paint up, I think they will do the job of representing this unit fairly well. So let me know what you guys think. Yeah, again, Hanoverians are a nightmare to try and research in terms of uniforms, so that's sort of the best I came up with in terms of the depiction. Anyway, yeah, so that there, guys, those are the British infantry that I've painted in the last month or so. What I'm currently working on now is I have a little small section of, you guys probably saw this previous video, those Prussian Fusiliers that I've converted to be first KGL, which I've done the Shako conversion. You can probably see the toothpick in there. Those just need to be primed up, and I'll paint those up. There's, I think, 17 there. But right now I'm going back to the French Imperial Guard Horse Grenadiers. So there's the horses. I don't know. I find cavalry I take a lot slower to get through, just because it's painting the horses and the figures, and I don't know, just painting the horses with reins and everything. It's sort of a pain. That's a lot of the time. So I find I can't really plow through them as quickly. So I kind of do them in stages. So I decided to go back to them a little bit. There's the horses, and there's the figures in the back. I'm trying a new way of actually painting the figures. I used to do the hot pin method, where heat up a pin and stick a little sewing pin in the bottom. But it was always a pain to try and I found it was always a pain to try and get it out again once the figure was done. So what I've actually tried is I've actually just taken a little piece of cardboard and a little tiny dab of super glue right in the middle of the fold there, and I've just put the figure on there, and it gives me a nice, solid still grip on it. It doesn't actually touch the figure. But I'm going to try that and see if it works any better, and it's a little bit less, annoying to actually remove it once the figures are painted, because the pin method is getting really annoying, and the pins are always getting bent and really destroyed, and I had to keep buying more and more pins, and it was getting kind of a pain. So that's what I'm working on now. So those are the mounted figures for those horses. My uniform reference right now for that is primarily this book here, which is one of these books, the Histoire and Collections. This is the French Imperial Guard, Volume 2, the Cavalry. And again, this book is awesome for all sorts of uniform references of stuff. And obviously for the Horse Grenadiers, there's a perfect page right there for the Belgian campaign. It lays out on all the trousers and what they would have looked like, the saddle, and everything. So it's perfect. So I'm using that pretty much as my main uniform reference for these troops. Anyway, that's what I'm working on right now, guys. Yeah, so I'll post more videos as I'm doing more updates. Again, these cavalry, I don't see myself, getting them all done in one stretch. I imagine it's going to be a kind of a process that I'm kind of poke away on in between other batches of figures. I'm sort of on a British infantry kick right now, so I'm sort of doing a lot of those. So I might, do a couple colors on these and then come back to them again. But anyway, that's what I paint up right now, guys. And if you have any questions, just leave a comment below. I hope you enjoy. Let me know what you think about sort of the shading, and sort of if you think that looks a little bit better to add a little bit more depth and tone to the color, to the figures, as opposed to just color. Straight color. And yeah, so let me know what you think, and I'll take any of the suggestions I can. And yeah, let me know how they look. Let me know what you think of those Hanoverian conversions, if they look okay, especially obviously from a distance at this scale. And yeah, let me know what you think. And that's what I'm working on right now, and I'll be sure to post more updates as they come along. Anyway, cheers, guys.